There she is. I'm telling you guys, the Texas rig and this little worm right here, has caught more fish over the years than anything out there. Just something that, you know, guys, we overlook often. And with the advanced techniques that are out there today, you can never, ever overlook a tried and true method like the Texas rig. Getting wrapped up in big league fishing happens to us all, happens to a lot of pros, happens, you know, to a lot of guys even at club levels and things like that. We get away from the basics. The Texas rig is probably one of those things. It's the probably most used bait and rigging style in bass fishing. So I want to go back over that. I want to show you guys a basic Texas rig. We can break down just a couple of small things to help you catch more fish. And I'm gonna let you guys look at the basic Texas rig, okay? That is a basic Texas rig, again, with your small 1/8 ounce weight. You've got to peg it, and then you've got the 4/0 Z-neck hook here, 17-pound test, tour grade fluorocarbon line, and this is a red bug fat baby finesse worm. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna thread that on. You go down maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. You come out and make yourself a little hole there, right up the Z of the hook. This is a 4/0 hook. Perfect. You can probably even get away with a 3 in this little worm, and I will just dig it right into the egg sac of that worm and make a sleek slimline presentation. When you have that sleek slimline presentation, your bait doesn't twist and turn in the water. It doesn't twist your line up. It's got a natural presentation. It just flows and falls like a natural worm would. That's really key. So if you reel your worm in and you've got a kink in your worm, or it's over to the side and it looks a little crazy like that, you need to fix it every time and make that a sleek slimline Texas worm. And the biggest part of a Texas rig is you can wing it right out into the thickest grass when it's rigged properly. It just glides through the grass. We have got a lot of grass here that you can't see under the water, a lot of eelgrass, a lot of hydrilla. Here in Texas right now, we're just fishing, you know, more along the lines of holes and little depressions and things that are in this grass where these bass are gonna be set up to ambush. You flip right to those light spots in the grass and those holes, and that was with just a fat baby finesse worm. And you just watch, and that bait will just walk right off. You know, sometimes you never even feel the bite when you flip in with those finesse baits, and that's the reason for it is they don't feel threatened by it and they don't have to crush it. So a lot of times when you flip in with a finesse worm, like a fat baby finesse worm, you'll just see your line start to take off. It won't be a jump, it won't be a crack, it'll just be a simple, subtle swim off. And that's because those fish feel so comfortable eating it. And that's what happens, you just catch them. And what a great time. Not a giant, but a great way to start, and another, you know, just an example of what a Texas rig will do for you. When you're fishing a Texas rig and when you're fishing in general, you know, you look right across here and all you see to the naked eye is you see boat dock, retaining wall, boat dock, and then, you know, retaining wall. But if you really just look down at what's in the water, you'll be able to see that there are dark spots and light spots, and there are grass clumps and things. And every body of water will be different. There may be some laydowns, a log, a stump, and then there's, you know, like light spots out here. And those are the things that I'm gonna try to target to see what these fish are setting up on. Is it gonna be the light spot? Or is it gonna be the dark spot? Is it gonna be the grass itself, the clump? Or is it, you know, are they gonna be holding to a piece of wood? You know, there may be some fish on some beds, and then a lot of this is just, you know, fish that are feeding, you know, actually actively looking for a meal. I really like to, you know, keep my options open. I will throw a lighter weight in the springtime, and then once the, you know, the fish go a little deeper into that 12 to 15, I'll still keep a lightweight handy, but I'll also have a little bit heavier weight lined up, whether that's a 3/8 or a half, sometimes a 3/4, especially if you're fishing around vegetation like grass. A huge misconception, I think, by a lot of guys that when they're fishing is they want to hop this Texas rig awful lot. It's not about hopping always, it's dragging. Now there are times that that hop will react and make a fish react. However, a lot of times just that slow, methodical approach, not aggressive. The fish are fished for heavily this time of year everywhere in the country, and that drag is the biggest key. When you're Texas rig fishing, you know, everybody kind of resorts back to lizard or, you know, big baits, things like that. And really, a lot of it depends to me on how much pressure the lake gets and the time of year and the water color. If you've got really clear water, then you've got to remember a lot of times the fish are not going to want something that they can get a great look at, like something with a bunch of appendages in the super clear water, especially on highly pressured lakes. Those fish they can get a look at it, and it's not that natural of a presentation. I prefer to use those bulkier baits in dirtier water. In this lake that we're on today, tremendous amount of boat pressure. There's a tournament here right now as we film, and we've had a great day on the water already. We've put multiple fish in the boat and some really good fish. So that will tell you sometimes that, you know, we got a later start, but yet we still had a lot of success, and that's just by choosing the right bait. You can flip a Texas rig at rocks, dock, grass, anything, and you just change worms, just change presentations, and it totally mimics a different bait. You change the entire presentation just by changing the plastic that's on your hook. This little area right here, there's a lot of light spots in here, a lot of dark spots in the front of the grass, behind the grass, and there's holes. And this is just awesome, awesome water to fish a Texas rig through, especially a light Texas rig since it's so shallow. There's one. Oh, goodness gracious, that guy is strong. Not a giant, but still a great, great Texas rig bass. You know, I want you to look in there and see that guy has that worm absolutely choked down his gullet there. I got him in the top of the mouth, way back in there. And, you know, not a giant, but what's really important is your rod, reel, and line combo. We'll put this little guy back and I'm gonna show you what I'm using here. So a great all-around Texas rig rod, very universal. This is a 7'3" Team Lou Signature Series rod. This is Jeff Sprague Signature Series rod, and it's a light jig, light ocho, light Texas rig rod. It's really parabolic, but the 7'3" really gives me that ability to hook the fish, set the hook in them, and then have a lot of parabolic bend in the rod to hold pressure on those fish when they're turning. A lot of times we lose the fish whenever we give them just a little bit of slack because our rod is either too stiff or the rod is too limber. And that's one of the reasons that I really like this 7'3", you know, parabolic medium heavy action rod. 20-pound tour grade fluorocarbon line with a Lew's Pro TI reel, 7.5:1 high gear ratio, just to be able to take up that line and set the hook. There's one. That was super cool right there. I mean, see him cruising down the bank, be able to flip up there with that little baby light Texas rig, fat baby finesse worm, and just catch them. Not a giant, but when you can see them, flip to them and catch them, it's always a great day when you can see one cruising. A lot of fun. Texas rigging 101, basic stuff, but go back to the basics. It's something that's worked for so long, and it's something that we use on the tour that often we don't talk about. And it's just because we know we have it on our deck, and we think everyone has it on their deck, and they may not because they think it's too simple or too basic. It's never too simple, never too basic. It works year round. The Texas rig is probably the best thing to have tied on, period.